Hello, everybody, and welcome back to All for United. So I'm joined tonight with an absolute amazing panel. So yeah, this is your Manchester United versus West Ham preview. So yeah, guys, you just want to say hello.
Hi, how's it going?
Big up, how are you doing? Hey.
So yeah, like I said, I've been joined by a great panel tonight. So yeah, let's just get right into it. So where do we start, really? Should we talk a bit about Thursday night, last night's match, for example? So how do you? So James, I'll ask you the first question. How do you think Garnacho performed? And obviously, he was the main talking point of last night's game, and I feel like I personally think he did relatively well. And I feel like he's done enough to keep Sancho out of the team for Sunday's match. What do you think?
I think Garnacho played superb. When you take everything into account, the kid's young kid coming through the academy. He's been electric at youth level, and the question was, can he make the step up? The Premier League, the Europa League, all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like he could. And to be honest, it was really refreshing to see a winger who was direct, who was running at people. He probably took on more people in one game than Sancho has in about 2 years. And it was just really, really refreshing to see. There's a big connection with United and youth players, I think it's something like 3,700 games where there's been a youth prospect involved in a match day squad now. So there's obviously a huge connection. It goes back to class of 92 and obviously way before that. And it was great to see the fans get on side with the youth player as well. So it gave him the encouragement to go forward again and again, even when he made a mistake. Loads of applause, loads of support. Carry on, lad. Go again. So, yeah, he was excellent, man. And does he start on Sunday? Well, I'm not Eric Ten Hag, but he's definitely given him a decision to make, because when it comes to form, he definitely performed better than Sancho has recently. And personally, for me, I know I'll get hate for it, but it's between him and Alanga, not him and Sancho.
I couldn't say that by myself. Obviously, we know that Sancho wasn't going to play on Thursday, and Ten Hag's obviously seen who was better in training between Alanga and Garnacho. And it was quite surprising, really, how Garnacho, who's had less Premier League experience than Alanga, like last season when he played for Rangnick, that Garnacho actually outperformed Alanga in training. So obviously, with him outperforming Alanga is a really good step towards, and obviously he shows a lot of potential. Garnacho does, and the only thing is that you can't play Garnacho and Alanga at weekend, because obviously if Ten Hag loses, then he'll be I can already guarantee he'll be criticised by the media by saying you can't play two youth players who are so inexperienced. That's why you lost the game. So obviously it's got to be one or the other, but I would definitely keep Sancho out of the squad completely. So Kojo, what do you think of the situation?
I don't know if I'm leaving Sancho out of the squad. Don't get me wrong. Garnacho was fantastic, but actually not even a but. It's more a thing of, the team that we're playing is a team where we can afford to give the young guys a bit of a chance. Sheriff are not a great side, but that's not trying to take away from Garnacho. He started to do his job and he had the right back on toast. James is right. Sancho is not taking on players. He's not doing it. I don't know why he is. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if it's a tactical thing. I doubt it. But he's just not taking on players. And we know he's got the ability to, so it's disappointing. But he's still going to be in there for me. And the reason why is because he's still a very good player. I'm not saying that, you guys, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I would like to ease Garnacho in bit by bit, slowly. Take our time with him, you know what I mean? Because also, it's not just the media, our fans as well. It's maybe the new era of United fans that just don't have as much patience as we did for the young guys coming through. Someone like, I even go back to that Makeda. Makeda came through, burst on the scene, scored the next game, and then after that didn't score, and people were like, he's not here anymore, and there was pressure. And fine, if he's not going to make it, he's not going to make it. But because he's still young, I want Garnacho to just, be eased in slowly. And he's part of the future anyway. I think the guy's so good. I don't have any doubts about his United future. I think he's going to be there for a long time. But I think Sancho will come back in. But if he doesn't, it'll probably be Rashford on the left and probably Ronaldo up top or something. So yeah, let's take our time with Garnacho, because he's I don't want him to get into the whole thing of this generation of fans that find a young talent, and if he doesn't perform for one game, he's suddenly he ain't that good and all that rubbish. I don't want to hear that from the United fans.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you mean about nurturing players. I mean, look at Phil Foden at Manchester City. He was brought in game by game, and now he's one of the world's best players in the Premier League. So it's always going to be good when you have a natural youth player from your youth setup. And I feel like United have obviously lacked that in recent years. Our most recent youth players' success rate, you could really say, is the Rashford and McTominay. And my thought is with Alanga is that I don't think he's ready for the Premier League. Neither do I think Garnacho is. I think they should be out on loan, learning their trade. But then again, do you want to nurture them into the squad and play them game by game and just give them extra 10 to 15 minutes? It's just all opinions. But I get what you mean with Sancho. Obviously, he's a very good professional, but obviously you can't also not admit he hasn't been playing well over the last few games, but obviously it's all down to opinions. Like you've said, obviously you said that you would have Sancho in the squad, but where would you play him? Do you think he's better on the left or on the right?
Funny enough, I think he's better on the left, but I think we signed him to be on the right, and it hasn't worked out. And again, I don't know what that's for. I mean, Solskjaer, when he came in on Solskjaer, he didn't really start in the first place. So that was one thing in itself. And obviously with Ten Hag, he started at first, and he's had mediocre performances, but he's had moments as well. I mean, if it's just talk about Liverpool, he scored a fantastic goal, put 3 players on their bums, but then did nothing after. It's very annoying to watch that, you know what I mean? So I think his best position is on the left, but we've got Rashford already for that. Martial, when he wants to be fit, if he's ever fit. But again, that means we need another right winger. So that's another conundrum for United, isn't it? How many times before we get a right winger?
I mean, we've brought in 2 technically world-class wingers in Anthony and Sancho over the last 2 seasons. And obviously, Anthony's still learning and he's adapting to the Premier League. And Sancho obviously has been kind of played more on the left-hand side to be more inverted winger instead of a support or creative winger. So I always thought that Sancho was a more creative than an inverted winger, but obviously we're not the managers and it's just down to opinions. I thought that his best position was on the right, but obviously Ten Hag thinks different. I still think that obviously we'll do predicted 11s later on in the show. But I still think that Rashford will be played through the middle. Ronaldo won't start at weekend, but I think he'll play with Anthony on the right, Garnacho on the left, and Rashford through the middle. But obviously, we'll speak about starting 11s later. Tone, what is your thoughts on the winger situation? Do you think Garnacho deserves to start, or would you nurture him to the squad and bring him on for 10 to 15 minutes in certain games?
If you're good enough, you're ready to start, really, isn't it? I thought yesterday was the most exciting player on the pitch first half. He was the only one bringing any excitement and energy into the game from what I saw. There's certain things, obviously, we've got to accept these young players are going to make mistakes, but you got to give them the chance to make these mistakes. And I know what people are going, I know the sentiment is send these kids out on loan, but there's no experience like playing for Man United. You know what I mean? It's a different kettle of fish. Diallo playing at Sunderland right now isn't the same as coming back to Old Trafford playing in front of 75,000 people. No offense to Sunderland or anything like that. I'm just telling you, there's levels to it. But the thing is, Sancho hasn't really warranted a start recently. And there is a player inside Sancho. I don't think anyone's denying his ability as a player. His Dortmund record speaks for itself. The excitement that he brought with his transfer was one of the biggest we've seen in recent years. It's just he hasn't really replicated the form and the success that we would have hoped thus far. Maybe it's a league issue, maybe it's a positional issue, we don't know. But at the end of the day, I think Garnacho deserves to start on Sunday after yesterday. Whether or not Ten Hag does, I think realistically Ten Hag won't, because I think like a few others were saying that he's going to wean him in. And I think maybe in hindsight, that's probably a good idea. But if he doesn't start on Sunday against West Ham, he'll definitely start in the Carabao Cup game in the next week or 2. That's a guaranteed in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And obviously, I personally, it's a weird one when you think about nurturing players, because if you're going to play them in the Carabao Cup games, or if you get your Luton Town in like the FA Cups and stuff, that's like the best chance to play youth players. But really, 4 games a season isn't really enough in my eyes.
No, of course not. But what I'm saying is those moments. I know people go to the FA Cup games, but it's just like wean them and him very slowly and surely. And obviously in the season, there's so many things that happen in the season, injuries, things like that, and players get, you get chucked into the deep end, either you sink or you swim. Like you were talking about Makeda before, and he swam until he sunk, but there's quite a few prospects at United that I'd like to see come through the squad. Obviously, Garnacho being just one of them. But it's going to be interesting to see. I don't think I know we briefly mentioned Ronaldo. I don't think Ronaldo starts on yesterday's performance, in my opinion. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. Obviously, there's much more exciting prospects in United's youth academy at the moment. Obviously, you've got your Zidane Iqbals, your Hannibal Mabry's, who where is he on loan? Is it Birmingham?
Birmingham, yeah.
You've got obviously Ethan Laird, who's also out on loan. You have Fernandez, who's at Preston. So these loan spells I'm actually tuning into, and they're actually doing really well from what I've seen. And I've seen that is it Alvaro Fernandez? Is that his name? Or is
Preston North End, mate.
I saw him get man of the match last week with he got 2 assists in the Preston win. So it's good to see that United have these players, and I think loaning them out has always been their issue because obviously some succeed, some don't, and I think that Garnacho is more exciting than Elanga was when he came through last season. But obviously it's all down to opinions, and I think that Garnacho think of it, he's got Ronaldo at his club and then he plays with Messi at international level. He's literally living everyone's dream. So yeah, Mick, I'll bring you into it about Garnacho because I think it is a very interesting topic. Is he one for the future? Because I think that if Garnacho does succeed, he could save us 60 to 70 million. And as United in recent times, United have overspent on certain wingers like Anthony and Sancho.
Well, Garnacho is a very interesting story and topic by itself. Same with Lisandro Martinez. It's basically from grassroots to the big stage, if you talk about that way, I would say that 100% I echo what everyone was saying. It's just he was the man of the match. He was given an opportunity, and we just go by this old Sir Alex quote, if you're good enough, you're old enough, But still, it's a work in progress. In my humble opinion, I see that we have a diamond in the rough. Clearly, we bought him in October 2020 from Atletico Madrid for a fee for £420,000, and he only came up to the Atleti youth setup for 6 months until we snatched him up. So, that is kind of the same agent also that's handling Martinez. So it is kind of a beautiful story because both of these boys. Particularly Martinez as well. They come from the streets of Buenos Aires. There's roughness, but there's still a humbleness. They play with spirit. They play with heart. We've seen how they celebrate. But I think that it's good that we have competition. I was listening to Erik ten Hag's presser today. He's not a man of patience. He said it time and time again. I want to give time, but I don't have patience. So, we have the likes of Palestri also sitting on the bench. I thought yesterday, basically, what Garnacho displayed is a sort of a message to Sancho. Pick up your pace, mate, because I'm gunning for your position. Same thing goes with the Elanga, I would say. So just moving forward from now, I would just say, whatever happened to the comments regarding. Anthony Dos Santos as well. We've been crying out for people that could lift our seats off the bum at Old Trafford. Now we got it,
Yeah.
Now we got it. So sit down, sit down and enjoy the ride. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful story, mate. It is.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Mick. Obviously, I just said Garnacho, we bought him from the Atletico youth setup.
420. Yeah, 420,000.
Yeah, so think of it, if we bought it for 420,000, he ends up becoming a £40 million worth player, then it's a good profit. United are terrible with business, as we all know. So it'd be great profits.
Martinez went for 7 million to Ajax.
Yeah, so
that's a crazy one.
These South American players normally do, don't they? They always get snatched up really young and cheap, and then they just become world superstars. I mean, Valverde at Real Madrid, what did they buy him for? I swear it was something really cheap. So we're not talking about Real Madrid, we're United channel, aren't we? So just last thing about Garnacho, because obviously I don't want to drag it on for too long, but obviously just quick fire. There's rumours about him getting a professional contract, so no longer being a youth player, being an actual pro contract. Would you give him that contract? And if so, how many years would you give him?
5 years signing him up. We gave him a professional contract 2021 already too. Yeah. So for me, 100%, secure the asset, give him a 5-year contract, tie him up, and he will be £100 million player.
20 years. Give him 20 years. Give him 20 years. £1 billion release clause.
He's going to line up for Argentina in the World Cup as well.
Ballon d'Or Marshall's gone. Ballon d'Or Garnacho's here. I'm joking.
I think you've got to be careful, because I'm going to bring us back down to earth a little bit and claim that you guys are having a bit of recency bias, because Dan, I heard you say that he came onto the scene better than Elanga, and that's just not true. Garnacho had a man of the match performance against a pub team from Cyprus, whereas Elanga scored in the Atletico Madrid stadium, which I think we tend to forget, when all of the players were playing awful that day, and he stepped up and was calm and put the ball away. So we're very guilty as fans of having recency bias and thinking that players now that are coming through that are exciting now are the future. And listen, Garnacho is a huge talent and looks incredible. They should do what they did with Elanga. Elanga went from like £500 a week onto about £6,500 a week. You give him a little pay rise. You don't throw him on a daft 6-year contract or whatever. You give him a little pay rise. He then beds his way into the team. You then renegotiate and you step up in levels, right? But you start throwing big money at young players. You've seen what's happened to number 11 at the club. You saw what happened to Rashford. I know people around Marcus Rashford. He kind of went off the radar a little bit, flew off the handle a little bit. You give young people a lot of money and a lot of fame and fortune, and they can easily go offline. We've already heard from Ten Hag in the press conference that Garnacho had an attitude problem earlier on in the season, and that's why he's not had his chance. So why are you going to give a player who has had an attitude problem loads of money? I just think you keep him grounded, you give him a little pay rise, reward him for his hard work and his effort, and then go from there.
I say
that's what I believe happened with Garnacho as well. Like since the pre-season, he's been slowly embedding him. Okay, you're ready now. Let's go. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I think with a 5-year contract doesn't have to be big money. That's the most important thing. I'm hoping we're smart with business, because we got what I say for the first time, it feels like a long-term coach. So that's step one. Obviously, the businessmen behind that, we know they're not too good, but let's hope that they're trying to, or at least one of them trying to make something happen at the club. But
so you're not going on Graham Souness contract.
Please, no.
5 years is gone, right? Nah. Souness.
None of that.
Stop talking shit.
Just to bring on what James said, though. Firstly, I didn't say about how he burst into the scene better than Elanga. I said that he has a more excitement towards him, because obviously that might be due to him being Argentinian, being able to play with Messi and Ronaldo, as well as Elanga's only Swedish, so he gets to play with Zlatan. So it's kind of the same, really, when you think about it. So that's a bit of a crap comparison, but yeah, I just think that, like you said, it's recency bias, and this is the beauty of football, when you get to have different opinions and it makes you see a different picture that you didn't think of before. So I agree with James. You've kind of changed my mind when it comes to Garnacho. I agree with everyone else about nurturing him to the squad and not offering a massive contract, because obviously we don't want him to end up like a certain number 11. We don't want him to get a big ego, and I think that's why Alex Ferguson was perfect at keeping his youth players and keeping them humble, keeping them hungry at the same time. But
listen, there is a comment. I just wanted to bring that up, because I do agree with you, like a bit, Dan, as well. Like there's a comment from Rory there which says Garnacho has a way higher ceiling than Elanga, and I agree with that. I actually think that he does have a much higher ceiling. What I'm saying is, when they first burst onto the scene, Elanga probably had a bigger performance than Garnacho did, in terms of what he was doing in that moment, the opposition he was against, the atmosphere that he was in, all that kind of stuff. You've got to take it into account. He wasn't playing in, yes, an important game, but against realistically a team that is probably League One, League Two level, realistically.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the Moldovan sides, Sheriff, obviously what history do they really have the part in Europe? They beat Real Madrid 2-1 last season in the Champions League, but Real Madrid had about 32 shots, and they had 2 shots and both went in somehow. So they were just I
mean, they've been the Moldovan champions 20 years in a row, so I guess they've got a little bit of history. Give them their credit.
Come on.
Let them all over Man
we
City.
have made Old Trafford a fortress again. People are coming scared, right? Seriously.
But I think we can all admit as well that last night's game wasn't the really most exciting game either, and we still won comfortably 3-0. But like I said, let's move on from the Thursday night, because obviously we're playing West Ham this weekend, so no living in the past, look straight to the future. And yeah, so obviously we're against West Ham. Obviously, news came out that Gerard Bowen and Lucas Paqueta are out injured, so they'll probably miss this weekend's game, which is great news, to be honest, because Lucas Paqueta was amazing at Lyon last season. I watched him. I wanted him at United. But obviously, then we got Ericsson. Gerard Bowen's been a great player for numerous seasons now for West Ham and when he was at Hull. So, yeah, I feel like this will help United out a lot when it comes to the midfield battle, the battle on the wing. So I feel like Gerard Bowen plays on the right, so that means Shaw or Malacia would be marking him. So whoever he comes up against, I think it'll be, is it Fornals is their backup right winger?
Yeah, it's Fornals.
So he'll be, it seems that quite a lot of clubs at the moment have quite a few injury crises now. Was it Erling Haaland went off with a knock or something, or he had a knock after the City game against who was he against last?
Dortmund.
Was it Dortmund? Yeah, so he went off with a knock. So whatever that is, I mean, it won't do people's fantasy Premier Leagues any good, but it'll do the Premier League some good, won't it? With the points teller, will he play? I'm not sure because it's only a knock, but it's just one of them, because obviously City are currently fighting Arsenal for the title race, it seems, but. Yeah, like I said, you've got Newcastle with the loss of St. Maximin. You've got Liverpool's injury crisis, and now West Ham losing key players. United are also not innocent in all that. We're losing the likes of Martial and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire. Never thought I'd say that in my lifetime. But anyway, so how do you feel like United will set up? Do you think that with these injuries for West Ham, it'll be an easy game, or do you think it'll be as tough as a game? That's for anyone who wants to jump in.
Yeah, go on, mate. Go on.
I don't think Erik ten Hag will go easy on the team selection either. He's proven time and time again that, from there's like 5 games to the World Cup break, so he wants to pick up as many points as possible. In his formation, what he says, like, I picked the best team for the best. He selects pretty much like Sir Alex, he picks certain players for a certain event and selection. That's it. I don't see many changes. I see Luke Shaw coming back on the left. I see Lindelof playing with the Martinez. The rest is pretty much the same, I would think. Ronaldo starts on top. That's about it. And we go for 3 points. We go for the kill. West Ham is there for the taking,
Yeah. I mean, it's at Old Trafford, and like you said, Mick, Old Trafford seems to be a fortress at the moment. People seem to be starting to become scared to actually come and challenge at Old Trafford. So I feel like it will be a very good game. I feel like United will control the game. We've seen what we've done against Chelsea and Spurs in the last few Premier League games. And I feel like what's also a bonus is that obviously we saw United dominate Chelsea for them first 30 minutes.
3-0.
And he made that tactical substitution where he took off Cucurella for Kovacic. And I think, fortunately, David Moyes doesn't really have enough rotation and enough squad depth to be making them early substitutions, because he's going to need his substitutions for later on. So I feel like if United dominate from early, then David Moyes will panic. But I don't know what anyone else's thoughts on that. Do you think that United will be a lot more comfortable? Because I saw that in last night's game against Sheriff, United were, instead of doing first-time passes, we were taking a touch and being more controlled with the game, you can say. But
Dan, can I just backtrack something that you said about injuries, right? Like, basically, we are coming back from injured play, coming back, like Donny van de Beek, Martial is coming back. We are more on a positive, while others are starting to pick up injuries. Like, I just want to mention that point. But yeah, for me, I'm positive, make it a fortress. We go 3-0, right? Keep a clean sheet.
With the injuries, though, Mick, I just want to say, people are about our squad depth and stuff, but realistically, you've got to look at it. And I thought the summer transfer window was quite good. I was one of these people that said it was good. Very happy with 5 out of the 6 signings. Well, 6, like Dubravka's what he is. He's a lone player. He's come to us. It is fine. But but 5 signings that have definitely improved our starting 11. So very, very happy with all of them. The problem, and it's rearing its head now a little bit, is the fact that either for free or selling, we let go of 17 players and brought in 6. So there was a net loss on the squad of 11 players. So we are 11 players lighter in the squad than we were last season. And that was always going to come to fruition. And the problem was we were never going to sign 10, 11 players in a window. That was never going to happen. We all know that, right? But we just let too many players go. And I know people are like, oh, they're not the right quality and all that. And that's fine. And I've had this discussion about Harry Maguire. Like, people may not like him. They may not want him to play. But people saying that we should sell him in January are clueless. Like, we're so short at centre-back. We're so short at back. Go on, mate.
Well, I just want to say, obviously, looking at Jarvis's comment, that's why I left it up, about how we're a much better team than West Ham. It's just the challenge is breaking the low block. Yeah. And I completely agree with that. And when you're talking about obviously squad depth and stuff, like, we're going for a rebuild. We're going to have to keep them players like your Harry Maguires, your Wan-Bissakas. We're going to have to keep them. We can't offload them in January. We should be bringing in January, and then when the summer comes around, that's when we should then start to think about, do you have a future at Manchester United? And obviously, I feel a bit sorry for the likes of the youth players like your Zidane Iqbals, your Garnachos, and your Langas, because I don't think they're ready, and they're being kind of forced to obviously take their chance. But again, it could either be a win or a loss, where they just stay the same and they don't adapt to the Premier League and need to learn their trade in a championship side, for example, or they can flourish straight away and come straight into the team. But I agree with you, James, like I said, about nurturing players and not giving them massive status, because obviously it'll go to their heads.
We've seen that with a certain player, what James was saying, without mentioning the name,
Number 11.
Perfect example, yeah.
On Jarvis's comment as well, we're a much better team, because I know Mick was talking about the team and how we play and stuff and changes that we make. The challenge is breaking down the low block. I agree with that. Yeah. I think, and I don't know if you guys agree, and I may get hate for it, I thought Harry Maguire was pretty much faultless when he came on yesterday.
He was brilliant.
He was, yeah.
He had nothing to do.
No. That's not true either. That's not true. He did have stuff to do. Like, people just have this agenda. Like, if that was Martinez that made that interception on the line, calmly brought it back, and if it was Martinez spraying out passes to the left and the right that were 40, 50 yards in length to break through lines and give our wingers chances, then we'd be having a different conversation. People have this thing where it's very popular at the moment to hate on Harry Maguire or think he's not good enough. Harry Maguire actually came on at right centre-back yesterday, which is a very strong sign for me that I think he will play on Sunday. West Ham are very strong in the air. We need Dalot, who's great in the air. We need Luke Shaw, who's great in the air. We need Martinez, who's great in the air. And we need Harry Maguire, who's great in the air. And I think, even though Lindelof has been very good since he's come in, very, very good at centre-back, actually, very happy with him, I think he might actually go with Maguire on Sunday.
Yeah,
I reckon.
Topic, James, because that was about the Maguire and Lindelof situation. So you've gone on straight to the next point. But
my bad.
No, it's great moving on and stuff. So, like you just said, Maguire, obviously you've got West Ham striker Scamacca, who's 6'5", a very tall and physical striker. We all know how buffed Antonio is. He's an absolute unit. So you're going to have physicality in that game. So obviously we
got the butcher, don't worry.
We've got the, yes, we've also got Slabhead, so I think that's a good partnership. But obviously when it comes to Maguire, obviously hate's a strong word, and you don't want to hate any Manchester United players. And when people say that, oh, Maguire's a terrible footballer, he's not. He's playing for the best football club in the world at a massive stage. And yes, he's known for certain mistakes, but again, that's no reason to slate him for. He's still a Manchester United player. And until he leaves or until his contract runs out, then he's still a Manchester United player, and I back him. And that's just how it is. You've got to back every single player who is at Manchester United. And it's just unfortunate that Harry Maguire's pretty much a meme, kind of like Phil Jones is. And I feel like if you put if you put Phil Jones in that situation at centre-back, he'll be given that chance as well. But it's just like you said, I do think Maguire will also start, but we'll obviously get on to predicted 11s in a bit.
Sean, you were at the game yesterday, right?
Yeah, I was at the game yesterday.
They were booing at him like it's
No, were they booing him? I thought they were jarred. Mate, I were a bit drunk.
I heard it. They were booing.
I thought they were saying shoot. That's what I thought.
They were saying shoot every 2 seconds.
Oh no, and then they were going, shoot, no, shoot.
I just want to talk about Maguire though, because like, don't get me wrong, he's had his mistakes, but every player in the United teams had their mistakes in the last season or two. But there's a reason why he gets picked for England. He's one of the first names in the team sheet. There's a reason why we paid for him for £80 million. He's a brilliant, like, honestly, there is a player in Maguire. Honestly, trust me. And you saw a glimpse of it yesterday. Like James said, the first game back after injury as well. He was out for a long time. The confidence that I know it's Sheriff. I get the opposition we're saying here, but we've got to bear in mind he was so comfortable. It didn't feel like we were at a loss when he came on the pitch. Because a lot of fans make out like he's a detriment to the team, but I don't see it like that. I just think it's a confidence issue. I don't think it's an ability issue at all.
So did you stay on at half time? Did you stay on or not? Did you watch at half time? Because so him and Rashford came out to warm up, right? And they were doing little passing drills back and forth. And Maguire's control and passing back and forth with Rashford was excellent. Like fizzing passes in, control, really good, left foot, right foot, stopping the ball dead. And actually, if you look technically, he's a good player. But I don't think he's obviously lacks pace. That's clear to see. He's not a great leader. He doesn't command very well. He obviously doesn't have any recovery pace. And he has this obsession with the ball where he likes to lunge in sometimes, and it gets him in trouble because he's got no recovery pace to move in behind. So he has his faults, but he also has clear benefits to the Manchester United team, which people just choose to oversee.
Yeah. Sorry, Dan. Sorry, Mick. I know you want to talk, but the thing about Maguire is, and I'm not trying to discredit him for anything, but he's in a bit of an unfortunate situation. Look, I think the year prior to when he joined us, he was wanted by Mourinho for a little bit. Well, I said a little bit, a lot less. I
was about to touch on.
But this is the situation. Like under Mourinho, he wouldn't have come for £80 million, and he wouldn't have been the captain of Man United Football Club. So once he got the armband, the pressure's different. That's the unfortunate situation. Now, whether we like to, I don't like to use the word protect, but I can't think of a better word right now. Protect him or not. The point being, when you have the armband, you are now held to a standard of every other captain that was before you at Manchester United. And because his performances weren't reflecting that, that's where the pressure came. Now Martinez comes in and joins Varane. Don't get me wrong, Varane last year, he was injured so much, so I can't really say that he was good last year. He was injured a lot, but he's come in, he's found his fitness. Martinez has joined him. They've built a partnership and it's working. That's why United fans are a lot apprehensive about Maguire coming back in, because it's like, well, we got something working now. Now Varane got injured, Lindelof's come in and he's done well. We know Lindelof's not good in the air. We know he's not strong, but Lindelof has other qualities that he brings that helps the partnership.
Exactly.
Now
he pings good passes.
He pings good passes, and in terms of his
the ball well.
stuff, he reads the game quite well, and he likes to usher attacks away from the box, which is what you want to do. It's good defending. Now, when you come up against West Ham, like someone like Scamacca, now he's a problem because not only is he good in the air, but he's good on the ball as well, physically getting the ball to feet. And he's going to, if he's a smart striker, which I think he is, he's going to target the weakest defender, which is Lindelof out of the two. So, it's a case of, I wouldn't start Maguire just because the current partnership and the second partnership is working. That's not to say that he can't come in and work as well. He can come in and work. He came off the bench. He was paired with Lindelof, and they were fine for against Sheriff. But we got to understand also, and I think you guys do, but I think everyone else that's listening, I think we got to understand why there's such a nervousness about him coming back in, because we just haven't seen the Maguire we saw maybe for England on a consistent basis for Man United. And there's a period of time when it was really good for Man United, and then it just went off. And I don't know what happened there. Could be a confidence thing, but right now, no one's really confident in him. So maybe he also needs to build himself back in. You know how we're talking about Garnacho coming to the squad and, slowly getting into the thing. Not that he needs to go through the 18-year-old route of getting back into the team, but if you usher him in slowly, build his confidence up and say, all right, cool. As a manager, I have confidence in you to go and partner with Martinez in this game.
I just want to say
Sure.
something about, because James, you literally said about the Elanga situation, about how United fans seem to have like short memory and stuff. And I think what United fans also tend to forget is that, I know it was quite two and a half seasons ago when we got to the Europa League final, and Maguire was injured, and then he came in for the final injured.
We missed him.
We missed him, and obviously I know I was in a much darker place in that time, and we don't want to look back at the early days. But again, I do feel like Maguire does bring something to the squad, and even though Lindelof's been the more stronger centre back and the more consistent centre back over recent times, I do think in this certain game, Maguire's strengths are better than Lindelof's strengths in this typical type of game. So that's why I would play Maguire over Lindelof, and doesn't mean that you can't bring on Lindelof with 40 minutes to go or 30 minutes to go. But it like I always say, it's down to opinions. And Coach, obviously you don't think Maguire should start, as you prefer Lindelof over recent chances. But I don't know if anyone else thinks. Do you think Maguire's strengths are better than Lindelof's strengths for this weekend's game?
Can I echo what Koyo said, Mr. Koyo? You know, I was exactly thinking the same thing, but I was thinking three more things, right? One thing, what we mentioned earlier, what money can do to your mental, confidence as well. Like, all of a sudden you got signed for this big money. You came to the biggest club in the world, and all of a sudden the expectations is on you. Of course, it's going to play a trick on your mind. At the end of the day, mental. Nobody speaks about the mental well-being of a player. What we judge is the player on the pitch, but what goes on behind the scenes and in the personal life, we don't know. So mental wellness is kind of what I understood from Erik ten Hag, is that he gave Harry Maguire a little bit of time off for mental health, to nurse his confidence. He's been speaking, like we've been talking to Harry a lot, we've been ensuring you're a good player. There's a place for you in the squad, X, Y, Z. So at the end of the day, what we've seen is whoever comes in, whoever is injured, knows exactly what role to play. They have been instilled with confidence. And this is the difference. Now we're talking about application and coaching. When we signed Harry Maguire, did we have a proper coaching setup? Did we have a proper, I know that Ragnin came in and took on Sasha, mental coach, but that didn't help, right? So at the end of the day, like what Erik ten Hag is offering right now is the ability, he's giving the players chance. He's talking to them. He's instilling confidence and a system, so everyone knows the roles, what they're coming in. So even if Varane came out, Lindelof looked firing, he came in and knew exactly what to do, right? And looking at this Gamaka, maybe it's a good thing that Harry gets a shot. We need a little bit of a physical presence. At the end of the day, we have Casemiro that fill that donut hole that we're not going to talk about my Fred anymore, but that donut hole and the character replacement is finally there. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, De Gea might be the man of the match by doing nothing, So, fair point. But this all I want to add on, the mental agility, the capability, the application, what you put on the pitch, and we yet to see, we as fans can have the PTSD because we remember what happened last year. It wasn't working, but this year is a different season.
Yeah, I agree.
Different manager.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just that was a lot to take in at once, Mick, to be honest.
When I get going.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
I think just to reiterate to Mick's point, if people don't want Maguire to do well, you're not a United fan. You're not a United fan. Come on, at the end of the day, like we said, he's our player till he's not a player. He's, whether or not we have opinions on him. If you want him to come on the pitch and fail just for your own satisfaction, stop watching Man United play, please. I mean, because it's just sad. I mean, it should, whatever Ten Hag chooses on Sunday, I believe it'll be the right choice. I have faith in him. I have faith in the team, the 11 that he picks. I believe he'll pick it based on the suitability of the game, the type of opponent we're playing. I do think James is right. He'll pick Maguire purely because of the height and the strength that he possesses over Lindelof.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And obviously, speaking of injuries coming back, then we'll speak about a few other players. Obviously, we've got Van der Beek coming back. I don't think he'll start, but Do you think that he'll be a part of the game? And also, it's a good question because it's been debated for quite some time since Van der Beek's been at Manchester United. Do you think what do you think his best position is? Do you think he's better as a 10, as a deep playmaker, or a box to box? What's the panel's thought on that?
I'm going to upset a lot of people, but I think his best position is on the bench or as a squad player. I don't think he's good enough for Manchester United.
Ooh, he's on fire.
I don't think he's good enough. He came on last night for 13 minutes and people had this, again, recency bias. They want him to do well and they saw one back heel and thought he was good enough. It's absolutely crazy. His movement is okay, but he's not a 6. He's nowhere near as good as Eriksen in the 8. He's not better than Bruno or Eriksen as a 10. So you can't offer him a starting place. I'm sorry, but if you look at our midfield options, Casemiro's ahead of him, McTominay's ahead of him, Fred's ahead of him, Bruno's ahead of him, Eriksen's ahead of him. Potentially, I actually would argue that Zidane Iqbal should be ahead of him as well. So he may even be 6th or 7th choice at the moment. So hate as much as you want. I'm sure I'll get hate in the comments.
No, James, you're absolutely spot on, mate. You're spot on. Because you know what? It's a competition for places. That's what we want.
Yeah.
But I do think that Van der Beek is I do think he's a good player because don't forget the season we bought him, he was in the Ballon d'Or. The previous season he was in the Ballon d'Or and he came, I think it was number 27 in the Ballon d'Or shortlist. And for a midfielder, we all saw how great of a season Ajax had that season. And I honestly think that Van der Beek is a system player. I do think that he has to play with players on the same wavelength as he is. That's why when you see him play with the reserves and the second team and stuff, that's where he struggles and you don't get to see Van der Beek shine. So I feel like Van der Beek I personally think he's better as a number 8, as a box-to-box.
Box-to-box, yeah, me too.
I think that he's proved in recent times when he has played that he can put in a shift. And I just think that Van der Beek's time at Manchester United has been very disappointing. So again, Van der Beek, we haven't seen him play consistently enough, I don't think, and he's always either been out or he's just not been fit, and we don't know where the fitness injury has come from because obviously he's not played, and it must have happened in training. And it's a whole speculation about that because you've got the likes of Twenzebe, Wan-Bissaka, and these players who've been injured in training and they've been out for about 2 to 3 months. So I kind of want to have clarity on what's actually happened to them. But
well, they put in a lot in training to impress to get a game time, obviously. Right.
I think with Donny van der Beek, I think some people have got to consider as well that the transition to a league to the Premier League isn't an easy one. Donny van der Beek looked brilliant in an Ajax team in the Dutch leagues. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to come to Man United in the Premier League, a very physical, different league, and do well. And unfortunately, not in a horrible way. I don't want any player I want every player who comes to United to do well because it benefits United, and that makes me happy, and that makes us happy, right? But at the end of the day, how many brilliant players have we had come to this club from other leagues and they've just not been the player that we thought they would? And that's not to knock on them. It's just sometimes players aren't certain fits. Look at Timo Werner at Chelsea, for example. Great striker in Germany in the Bundesliga. Come to Chelsea, wasn't really the same player. It's not. It's sometimes I think Van der Beek would do very well in Serie A. I think he'd do very well in that sort of league. But I just think where he's in the rankings now in the midfield, I think I agree with James. I think he's even behind Iqbal for me now.
I don't know if he's behind.
I don't know.
That's
no. That's a big statement to us.
It's not that I. It's not even like I don't. It's not even like I disagree. James could actually be right about that, and I'm not trying to. It's just Donny, because we haven't seen him play consistently for Man United. I don't know what to judge him on just yet. Don't get me wrong. The move has been disappointing because we're going to judge on what we've seen so far, and we haven't seen much, unfortunately. So that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But this is a big year for him. Let me just put it like that. Yeah. I feel like I know why he went to Everton on loan because I think his wife gave birth. He went to stay closer to the north. If that was not the situation, I think Crystal Palace would have been a better move for him. To really get used to the Premier League and on the loan. But it's a big year for him because he's got his former manager with him. I'm not trying to say that former manager means you're going to succeed. What I'm trying to say is former manager is going to come to the club and say, I've worked with you. You need to show these people why or why I think you're such a top player. And if you can't do that, you know me, I will let you go. That's just how it is, and that's how it works. So it's a big year for him. He came off the bench. He looked tidy for the 5 minutes he was on. Like, I'm not going to give him any sort of more praise than that. But I think it's a big year for him. It's a huge year for him. I actually think he's going to try and compete for Bruno Fernandes's role. And the reason why I like that, the only reason I like that is because Bruno Fernandes is someone that we have not given a lot of rest for. So for rotational purposes, because we need to use the squad. We talk about using the squad. He's even plays 6, 8, and 10, and we don't have many players that play in the number 10 position. And he's one of them. We got to use him. And if it means playing him in the Carabao, FA Cup, Europa League, even we deem, I don't know, winnable, if that is a thing, because Premier League, any team can beat anyone. You know, I just think we got to use him and then see if he sinks. Like he said, one of you said it, sink or swim. Let's see what he does. If he swims, fantastic. If he sinks, then he'll go, and we'll just James will be proven right. Iqbal will stay, and he'll be out of here.
All right. Can I echo on that? Can I add something to it, Dan? Please.
Yeah.
I want to bring a different flavor to what people forget. You know, when we signed him, right? It was under Ole, right? Correct? Agree?
Yeah.
What happened during the Ole tenure? Like the squad selections was pretty much based on favorites rather than performance on the pitch.
I just stop you there, Mick. I feel like that's why Ten Hag's already outshined Ole already, because Ten Hag knows himself that he can't have favourites. Yeah. He's proved that he will drop players.
Yeah, but
favourites or not, if they're not playing well. Look at Sancho, look at Van der Beek, look at Luke Shaw, and I feel like that's like when Ten Hag joined Manchester United, we were all saying, I think everyone was saying that Van der Beek's going to be a different player under Ten Hag, and hopefully he is, because we want every player to do well under United. I think we can all agree that even if Phil Jones became a striker and scored 50 goals a season and won us the league, I don't think we'd be there as long as something like that happened. But yeah, as he says in the comments himself, we've got Phil Jones in the chat apparently. Yeah. So
I'm hoping you get a testimonial, mate.
I just want to land what I started on, with all due respect. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, he did his freaking best to get into the team, to get selected. You know, James can probably confirm as a fitness coach, because players, they give it all the best in training as well, and injuries do happen. Yeah. He's a humble lad. I've spoken to his agent that facilitated the transfer move between Everton and United, and he was saying he did fantastically well. He was consistently man of the match at Everton, put in man of the match performance, and then he got injured. So now we have Erik ten Hag that kind of brought him up in Ajax. Eric knows this player, right? Of course, he is giving him time to nurse himself, to get back into the fitness. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, like, you know, who we play, but Eric knows, you know, when to play Donny, when to play Bruno, when to play certain players in a certain position, depending on the opposition. That's at the end of the day, we should just be excited that we have the squad depth. Looking at January, Donny's not going to the World Cup. There's a few players that are not going to the World Cup. They're going to be staying fit, training, being sharp. And the season starts, basically, the real season starts in come January. You know, this is where we're going to kick on and fight for the top positions.
I mean, I feel like that if you just mentioned January, which brings on, obviously we want to bring on into a small segment, but I've seen reports about how Arsenal are getting about 100 million to spend, Newcastle are going to spend big, we know Chelsea are going to spend big. Do you think that's what United could lose out on top four? Because obviously we've been told that United aren't going to be investing in January.
January is the biggest shopping window, considering that it's a World Cup. Like, you know, this is the biggest shopping window.
I expect us to spend, but we're just being told right now that we're not. So obviously all we've got to go off is what we're being told.
Well, we didn't get much information from the club either. Like, you know, everyone was second guessing. Nobody knows the budget. There was no net spend. It was pretty much an agreement. When Erik ten Hag came on board, whatever he wants, you know, John Murtough delivers.
Well, I thought the Telegraph said it was 120 million originally, and then obviously the protest started, and they ended up spending about 250.
Nobody questioned where the money came from. Casemiro, we just got him, poof, like 2 weeks. That's it.
We've got that Newcastle money, the blood money, but you know, I don't expect.
Is everyone forgetting the interview that Richard Arnold and Murtough did, where they basically said, you know, in the beer garden, where they're basically like, oh, the money's here for this summer, but following windows, we don't know. We're going to have to bring in extra money, extra investment to actually spend. So I think it's like we may look at it as fans and think, yes, we clearly need investment to make top four. The Glazers are all about money. Hopefully they understand that. But I think we're forgetting the last 17 years of our football club. And I think it's very evident, if you look at it, that Leopards don't change their spots. And if you're expecting the Glazers to spend high consecutively in 2 windows, I think you'd be fairly naive to think that they would do that.
Yeah, but at the same time, the pressure is on. Like, everyone is now singing Glazers out for 95 minutes. You know what I mean?
Come on.
But
the pressure is on.
We don't need to spend high. We need to spend smart. That's
it. Go for the emerging markets.
That is something I've never understood with the Glazers. How they spend money, but they spend it stupidly. They're all about money and all about saving money, but then go and overspend.
Sorry, Dan, but the way is like, and it's not a defense of the Glazers because I hate the Glazers. So anyone listening,
me too.
Please put this out there.
Don't
right
talk
now.
about them.
Yeah, but firstly, they're not football people. Let's just put that out there. They are not football people. So the people that are in the board need to be directive enough to say, hey, we're the board members. You've given us some money. Now, these are the players we should aim for. Not going to buy players that clearly don't want to be here, but you're buying them like a Di Maria was. Or, you know, getting players like Falcao, who was a loan, yes, but you still spent a lot of money on him regardless, despite him being a loan deal. Like, the idea is that even though you have crappy owners, because like Liverpool have crappy owners, the fans don't really like them, if I'm being honest. A lot of fans don't like their owners, but the signings they made on their way to becoming a force made sense. Salah wasn't a lot of money. Mane wasn't a lot of money in hindsight, you know what I'm saying? Talking about what they achieved, you're talking about these guys should have been 90, 100 million pound players. They were nowhere near that price. So United need to think along that same wavelength and say, okay, maybe we can find a striker for about 20 million. And then if it's a 50 million striker, make it like sort of like how United used to do with Wayne Rooney. Rooney was 30 million, which is a lot back then. But Rooney was signing for the next 10 years, not for the next 2. You know what I mean? So United need to think properly. And if it's a business thing, then think about, okay, this young player looks good. Maybe in 2 years we develop him. He can go for triple the money we spent for him. That's what United needs to start thinking. So the Glazers are football people.
So I have to hire. But when you talk about like signs and stuff, it's like what really mind blowed me in the summer was when we got rid of James Garner, because
we sold
him for 13 million, right? And he had a great loan spell in the Championship. Then you've got the likes of Morgan Gibbs-White going from Wolves to Nottingham Forest, and he went for 45 million, and James Garner had So United's negotiating skills are absolutely wank, to be honest.
Yeah.
Terrible.
We're a good buying club, but horrible selling club. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
Who's ever in charge with that? Very poor.
It's unfortunate.
We couldn't sell a Black Cat to the Witch. That's
I don't know if you know the stat on sales, but basically since 2013, since Ed Woodward was CEO, we've sold 7 players for £10 million or more, whilst investing £1 billion on the football club. Which tells you everything you need to know. We've made a profit.
How many went for free, James? That's a statistic.
That's the crazy
thing. Was one of the worst things happened to this football club. Honestly.
They're scary. However, we go on about Liverpool and how they've been run recently, and they don't like their owners, but they do like the signings. Completely agree. And thankfully, if you believe reports recently, we've been linked with Michael Edwards, which is potentially something that could really work because he's been in charge of their transfer department and done a really good job. And like Kojo said, we need football people in football places. But at the same time, I'm going to flip it a little bit. And people say that, but then they're like, Darren Fletcher, what does he do? Get out of my football club. It's like, you can't really get more of a football person than Darren Fletcher. Yet they just moan that he puts the cones out with Mike Phelan. And it's like, they're football people. They've been around for ages. So
hey,
like,
James,
pick your boat, get your sail, like nail your mast to it, because that's where you need to be. Because honestly, football Twitter does my head in, mate. Honestly,
James, that's football now. Remember Arsenal fans were saying that Arteta was putting out cones for Pep. So what's he doing as Arsenal manager right now? He's the flavour of the year. So you know, we just take it as it comes.
With Middlesbrough's manager, so
Carrick's going to do very well. Carrick's going to be brilliant. He's going to be like, I could see him being Man United manager one day. I genuinely can. I think he's that. He's that. If his IQ as a manager,
wait for Ten Hag to succeed first, then we'll take Carrick. But let's wait for Ten Hag to succeed first. But yeah, we've
seen 30 years, right, mate?
Yeah, reaching about the hour mark now, so let's keep talking about the West Ham game. We'll do score predictions. We'll do predicted 11s first. So we'll go defense, goalkeeper, midfield, then forwards, and we'll say your defense, say your midfield, and say your forwards. So for me right now, I'd start off with De Gea as goalkeeper as always. Dalot, I think, will obviously play it right back. I think that him having that rest on Thursday will really help him. So yeah, I'd say Dalot. I would go for Maguire. I would go for Martinez, and I would also go for Shaw.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
So I'd only just swap out Shaw for Malacia.
Oh, why?
Only because I feel like the approach that I can see West Ham taking anyway on myself, I feel like him on the ball going inward will just work a little bit better than Shaw out wide, where we try to whip balls in, because West Ham will be hoping for that. The Bunners, the Zumas, and if we're not starting Ronaldo, we don't have aerial presence. So that's the only way I'm thinking about that. That's the only thing. I know Shaw's been good since he's come back in, but that's the only reason why I think he'll start.
I think Shaw going outside is a technical thing. Shaw's very much got the capability to come inside. You've seen it in the Euros.
Interesting.
You've seen it in many things.
But does it work as well? I mean, it's got short. It's very, very new, so I can't really give you much of a broad picture of what he brings. But in the time that Malacia's played so far and done that compared to Shaw, maybe this season and maybe a bit of last season as well, I feel like for the way Ten Hag has tried to put Malacia in, it just worked a little bit better with Malacia than with Shaw.
It could be, but that's like, for me, that's one pro in the Shaw in the Malacia column, which is great. But the pros in the Shaw column for me are better defender, better form, better in the air, better set piece taker. Got 2 assists recently, great crosser of the ball. So for me, like, the pros of Luke Shaw at the moment, while he's in form, far outweigh the pros of Malacia.
They're different. They're different left backs. That's why I mean, yeah,
it is different flavor. I mean,
different approaches. Yeah,
the approach what you can talk about is well the same as the Europa League against Sheriff, when he actually started Malacia and then subbed him off for Shaw. That can also be a plausible, why change a winning team. But I definitely think he will go for Shaw.
Yeah,
I don't mind. I don't mind Malacia either. Like, he's
I think
he's like the pitbull on the bone. Like,
Yeah. One thing that I love about Luke Shaw is that he has an absolute beautiful cross on him as well. We saw that on Thursday night. The weight of his cross is absolutely amazing. Yeah, and I just think that Malacia obviously is the more pacey fullback than Luke Shaw. But I feel like Luke Shaw is intelligent enough, even though he knows he hasn't got that pace to get back. He puts himself in the positions to win the ball earlier, so he doesn't have to be sprinting back. But we'll go on to the midfield now. So I'll go for. I feel like it's a game that United will be playing a high line, will be dominating the game. So obviously we'll go for Casemiro. I'll go for Eriksen, and I'll also go for. I'll go Bruno, but I wanted to just quickly speak before you give me your midfield 11. Is that when Ten Hag talked about playing Rashford as a 10, so we can play Ronaldo? Do you think that's a position that Rashford could play, or do you think that? Because I saw that on Thursday, Bruno went on the right wing, and Rashford became the number 10, which allowed Ronaldo to be the striker. Do you think that would happen, or do you think he'll go for the Rashford on the left and Ronaldo in the middle?
Wait a minute, I'm gonna call Ten Hag. Ten Hag, what do you think? Hey.
Hello? Yeah, no, not that.
This Sunday, hey?
No. I think if you listen to the press conference, Ten Hag basically said that he wanted to see them close as a 9 and a 10, so they could work in proximity and actually be close to each other and see how that would work. So he's clearly got it in his mind for some point in the future. Whether that's this Sunday or not, I don't know. I don't think at home against West Ham is a time when we need to use it. I think the 4-3-3 works well. I think if you play, I think the midfield 3 picks itself. Like, I know you want Bernard over Bruno, but I don't know who else you put in there, to be honest. I think it's Casemiro, Bruno, and Eriksen for me.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an argument for Fred McTominay in this kind of game. And I don't think Donny's played enough football and there's an argument for him. So I think it picks itself. You can correct me if anyone disagrees.
You guys don't, I agree with the midfield. I'm just asking, you guys don't think Fred will get a look in at all?
Not for this game.
I think that it'll be brought on into the game. I don't think Van der Beek will play as always. I think he'll sit on the bench for the full 90. I just think
Eric always talks about weapons, utilizing his weapons. So yeah, even if he starts with that midfield, there's still a second half. He can utilize certain weapons, like he can bring on Donny, he can bring on a Fred, he can bring on McTominay. Depends on how the game is shaping, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think what the also exciting thing is now our players are starting to come back from injury as well. Our bench is starting to look a lot stronger as well.
Absolutely.
So I think that's what is also exciting for this type of game. So we're starting to get the bigger name players on the bench again. So we'll move on to the forwards, and I'm going to go for Anthony, Rashford in the middle, and Garnacho. I feel like that'll be the team. I don't think he'll play Ronaldo in this game. I think if Rashford's struggling scoring goals, he'll take off Garnacho and put Rashford on the left and then put Ronaldo through the middle.
Yeah, I like that one.
But yeah, I feel like that he'll play Rashford through the middle at the start of the game, then bring Ronaldo on as the game goes on. Because I think that obviously with the agreement, Ronaldo and Ten Hag now they've kind of formed a new alliance where I think Ronaldo knows his place for the time remaining at United he has, whether he goes in January or whether he stays in term of the season. But what are your thoughts on that?
I like it. Spot on. I think that is, judging by Garnacho's performance, give him another chance. I think Ronaldo. He spoke deeply, highly about Ronaldo in the presser. Ronaldo knows his place. He kissed and make up for sure. But I still think he will start Ronaldo for some reason. I have a sneaky feeling. Yeah.
I really don't have a clue, honestly. Like, I think
Neither do
I.
nail on. I think the other 8 positions, I know we can argue over Maguire and Lindelof, but I think I've probably got the other 8 positions nailed on. Yet these front 3, I couldn't. Like, Anthony's going to start, but out of the others, and I'm pretty sure Rashford's going to start, whether it's centrally or wide, I don't know. And then you're looking at any one from 3 of Garnacho, Sancho, or Alanga. And
that's a positive headache, right?
It's good. It's a good problem to have. Like, so I'm really not sure. I think if I had to nail my colours to the mat, I think I would go with what you guys said in Garnacho, Rashford, and Anthony. But I'm really not sure. I'm not confident about it at all.
Yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if he starts Ronaldo on Sunday.
No, I think he will start Ronaldo.
Yeah,
same.
But I feel like what the beauty of having Ronaldo still at the club is that if he starts, then obviously you see them West Ham players start to be like, oh shit, right, okay. But then if he's coming on, while the likes of Declan Rice and the other players, they'd probably shit it a little bit. They'd be like, all right, we're quite knackered now. Ronaldo's coming on, who's fully fit, so we've got some work to do here. And that's if it's 0-0 or 1-0 at the time, they're going to be wanting to try and keep the score as low as possible. Now I'm saying Ronaldo's a massive threat as he was 5 years ago. But I still think that his aura and his presence still makes you shit a brick, to be honest. So
listen, I'm gonna give you something like Eric's shiny disco ball here. Right? Let's predict it. Right, what's gonna happen? The thing is that, I would say one thing now. Ronaldo scored, right? Ronaldo is back. He's hungry. He huffed and puffed. He got his goal. So I think he will start. Based on that, he's hungry to score, right? I think he will start.
I can agree with that. I also want to just touch on, I'm not going to take up much time, but I really want to give Marcus Rashford some praise recently because everyone hating on him for missing chances. I think he actually creates a lot of those chances himself. He's looking sharper than he has in years for me. And actually, I'm really happy with Marcus Rashford at the moment. And if he keeps on creating these chances and getting in these positions, eventually the ball's going to go in. And you can say he should have had 7 or 8 goals in his last 3 games, but at least he's in those positions. And eventually you've got to trust that he'll put the ball in the back of the net. Yeah,
I agree with you, James. And obviously we've not done a show together yet. And with Martial, do you think that Rashford could become a number 9, or do you think that Martial is a better number 9 than Rashford will be?
You probably noticed Tone laughing because me and Martial's history is not great, to be fair. For me, Martial, listen, Martial is a fantastic footballer and Martial is our best option at centre forward when fit. But he started 9% of Premier League games this season. If you turned up for work 1 out of every 11 days, you'd be sacked. You wouldn't be paid 250 grand a week. So at the end of the day, he's a world-class striker. I think he's elite, but you can only be elite if you can play. His worst ability is his availability. So Martial, for me, it doesn't matter if he's better than Rashford. Rashford is available. I need someone to put the ball in the net.
If
Martial on the injury table, like he can't put the ball in the net from the physio.
I mean, I've called Martial the new Cavani, really, because it's never really been noticed that Martial was as injury prone. It's only come over the last few seasons, and obviously Martial's openly spoke about when it was under Ole, and Ole played him while injured. So maybe that could have the long-term effects now of Martial being injury prone. But I feel like you said, James, is that it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're only playing for 1 every 11 games, then it doesn't matter how good you are, really. Like you could score, you could come and score a hat trick, or you could play and have a hat trick, then be injured for another 10 games. It brings the team nothing. So you'd rather a consistent striker than a world-class striker than that plays very little.
Last thing from me on this topic, because I don't want to hog it, but from a fitness point of view, because like I'm involved with fitness and athletes and people that train a lot. You have to take some kind of personal responsibility for your own fitness, your own injury record 100%. And injury prevention. You cannot just keep on blaming other people and said he was played through injury. If Anthony Martial was worried about being injured, Anthony Martial is a grown man. He can turn around and say, I should not be playing. He needs to do more prehab work. He needs to look after nutrition. He needs to look 100%. After mobility. When I was younger, I trained all the time. I trained like an idiot. I had injuries left, right, and center. Touch wood, I've not been injured in 2 years. I do my mobility every morning, 15, 20 minutes. I look after my nutrition. I do my cardio. I look after my health. There's a direct correlation between how you look after yourself and how injury prone you are. And players need to start taking responsibility. Pogba did it as well. I played injured under Ole. Well, guess what? You've moved club. You've got a different manager and now you're still injured. So take some personal responsibility and accountability for your own actions instead of blaming 100%. Everyone else.
Yeah. James, can I ask a question? Just you being in the fitness and training, have you seen the difference in the transformation of Dalot?
Yes, 100%.
100%. He's been taking care of himself, his mobility, his diet, 100%. Same as Luke Shaw as well. Luke Shaw,
exactly the same.
Yeah. Luke Shaw kind of reminds me of Paddy the Baddy, where he just lets himself go in the summer and then he becomes absolutely shredded. Do you know what I mean? But no, I'll quickly just do a quick segment because when I like to host a preview, I like to always do this. I'll give you a combined 11 of the team we're facing. So is there anyone in West Ham's side that you would have in United squad right now? So for me, I'd say, really, I'd keep the team itself, really. I wouldn't play Declan Rice because I think Casemiro's better than him. The only player that I would have in from West Ham at the moment is Scamacca because I feel like he's a very good out-and-out striker, and I feel that's what United lack at the moment.
I'll go with me. That's a hard one, that actually. Probably a centre-back, so we could have an extra centre-back, or the right-back, like Fredericks or something, so we could have an extra right-back, because...
Fredericks moved, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's gone.
Can I just tell you something interesting? Like the really funny thing, right? If we had this conversation last season, we were talking about signing Declan Rice for £100 million. We're now having a conversation where we're doing a combined 11 and he doesn't even get in our team. Yeah. And that is credit to the business we did in the summer with Casemiro.
Fredericks at Bournemouth.
Let me see who plays right back for Ben Johnson. That's it. Yeah, Ben Johnson, probably because we need a right back. I like Ben Rama. I've always rated Ben Rama. I don't think he gets to United.
Banana Rama.
Yeah. Mikel Antonio I've always liked as well.
What about Paqueta, boys? What about Paqueta?
I didn't include him because obviously he's him being injured right now. But if you want to include him and Gerard Bowen, then feel free. But if Gerard Bowen's a good right winger, would you have him at United? Obviously, he is a United fan as well. I've seen him on the is it the overlap he was on, or when he was in England call up, he talked about being a United fan growing up and stuff. So would you sign Gerard Bowen at United? Maybe do you think he's good enough?
That's it. That's Boat's past.
He does it. It costs too much money for what he's actually worth. The English tax and the Premier League tax combined, and it's not really an area where we need right now. I think right now, if we're looking at the summer transfer window. I've been intrigued by it. Have you heard the news about Diego Costa, the goalkeeper for Porto, being reserved?
I really want him. He's so good.
He's honestly no. He in 2010 where we were after Neuer and Alex Ferguson shook Neuer's hand after the Schalke game and everyone went done deal. Yeah. Shout he's coming United and they end up at Bayern Munich. I feel the same way about this goalkeeper.
Tone's a goalkeeper, by the way, so
I feel the exact same way. the evolution of the modern goalkeeper. I love De Gea. I think De Gea is, you know what? I know we talked about this the other week in regards to, I'm not going to go too much about goalkeepers, but De Gea, what's he pointing at?
Yeah, big up goalkeepers.
Bigger goal, but De Gea for me has done so much. It's so hard to. I think people don't realise goalkeeping is the loneliest position in football. Like,
absolutely,
you make
he's not in the 55-man squad for Spain. Just to touch on that for the World Cup.
It's manager's preference, isn't it? Let's be honest. I don't think he's going to start at the World Cup anyway. So who cares if he's not starting?
He's not being taken at all.
I know, but I know who the three goalkeepers are going to be for Spain anyway. I don't think Kepa will get in the team. I think it's a bit too late for him now.
Goalkeepers are the loneliest.
Is that Simon? Is that
Unai Simon, who we're also been linked with. Like I like doing scouting on goalkeepers a little bit to see who, because I think at West Ham, I don't think Fabianski should be the number one. I actually really rate Areola in goal. He came to United last season when we played him in the Carabao Cup. We lost 1-0. Brilliant. He was their man of match by a country mile. He was the best player on the pitch that day. But for some reason, Fabianski is a very good, solid professional goalkeeper. That's why, if you're not doing anything wrong, why drop him? But going back on De Gea, I think his ability at the moment with his passing, and I've noticed how much more yesterday, because this was the first game for a couple of months that I've been to, where I saw him so much further off his line, and like he was playing outside his box like 90% of the game. And that's something that he never used to do. He'd always be camped in his own box before. And I think that confidence that Ten Hag's bringing him and his ability to kick, and and it's something that I hope he keeps progressing, because you know what, he's a lot of people giving him rubbish last season. I know a lot of people thought Henderson was going to be the guy, and he's turned out that he's not going to be the guy. And for reasons that's really his own doing, to be honest, more so than choices, but yeah, Diego Costa, one to watch for me if he comes to United.
But now Henderson can be the guy because he flipped off the Liverpool fans, so it's fine.
Welcome back. Well, you know what? That was actually his mate in the crowd, apparently, not a Liverpool fan.
Well, no,
Tone, you're a goalie, right? So listen, just an example, like looking at Chelsea, not that we are Blues supporters, but Kepa was ruled out. They called him biscuit fingers and everything. Look at him now with a little bit of confidence. He's their first number one choice. I kept thinking about Karius, the Liverpool player. He did one mistake, two mistakes in the Champions League, gone, mentally gone. So yeah, I agree what you're saying. And goalkeepers get the stick, because at the end of the day, your job is to stop the goal and the ball to go into the net. But if you make a mistake, you get blamed.
Newcastle, by the way.
Karius is second choice at Newcastle. Yeah, he went after.
He's back now. Yeah, but he disappeared. He just vanished.
He got sold to a Turkish team, did I believe?
Yeah, he was at Besiktas for a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing about goalkeeping is it's such a confidence-heavy position. Like every top goalkeeper in the Premier League has ability, physical ability, mental ability, things like that. But it's all confidence-based. If you're not confident in your ability, opposition could smell it a mile away. And complacency as well. You're complacent for 1 second in a league as good as the Premier League. I can tell you this from an amateur level. If you're complacent even at amateur level, you'll play someone and you get found out. In the professional level, Jesus knows the levels of the complacency.
So just speaking on being a goalkeeper, then is it like obviously you have to be constantly ready? Like, how do you stay so focused during a match? Do you?
Well, I mean, I play futsal, so I play. I used to play for Sheffield futsal in the National League and stuff, and I guess a lot of the time, it's all about. I guess in that situation, it's different because futsal is a lot more. You're dealing with a lot of saves in a short period of time, so you kind of always have to be ready. But from my memories of playing 11 when I was younger, it's just always. It's that the biggest issue with me was focus. So, for example. Goalkeepers focus because goalkeepers might not have to do something for 60 minutes, but it's that 1 to 10 seconds in that 60-minute period where if you're not on the ball, that's the difference between you winning 1-0 or losing 1-0. It's those fine margins that these elite athletes have that we don't have. I mean, that's the
question. What are you doing this 6 minutes? You're thinking, what I'm going to do for shopping tomorrow? Do the laundry.
So I was playing a game once the other year, and I remember we were absolutely beating this team in the league, and I think we beat them by 30 goals. I'm being serious. We beat a team by 30 goals last season. I don't know how. But that was the most boring game of my life, and I started singing Elvis in goal. and you know,
What song?
In the Ghetto. I don't know. But I know a lot of people. I think Tim Howard used to talk to himself quite a lot.
He had Tourette's though, didn't he? Like,
Yeah.
What was it? Chimney, we've got Tim Howard, and he says, fuck you. That was the chant on it. But yeah, but it was great. That's a great stream, guys. Honestly, I really enjoyed it. So we're all pretty much in agreement with the starting 11.
Prediction.
Score prediction. Good man, Mick. Your favourite bit. Do you want to start off then, Mick, with the score prediction?
We keep a clean sheet. We've been keeping very, very, very good clean sheet. Sheet. I go with 3-0.
Wow.
Bada bing, bada boom. 3-0. The
I'll
floodgates are open.
Yeah, I feel like we'll keep a clean sheet. Yeah, I feel like United, creating wise, we're not creating enough at the moment. So a high scoring game. I'm going to go for 2-0 United, I think.
2-1. I think. Lindelof first goal. A defender's got to score again.
Own goal or actual goal?
Actual goal. Lindelof's due header. Oh, Martinez. I'd love to see Martinez score an absolute worldie.
It would absolutely shut Jamie Carragher up, wouldn't it? Where he says,
he's due for a worldie. Martinez due for a goal.
Yeah. James, what's your score prediction?
I think I'm torn between 1-0 and 2-0. I'm gonna go 1-0 and Mick 3-0. By the way, West Ham have lost. They've played 6 games away this season. They've conceded 6 goals. We're playing against the David Moyes team. It's very, very unlikely that we score 3 against them.
Combined 11. We can always ask David Moyes to come back. There's a spot available as a cone layer.
Trophy winner. He's a trophy winner in England.
No, I'm saying bring back Moyes as a cone layer, like on the pitch. Yeah. There's an open position.
Gojo, what's your score prediction, pal?
I'm gonna go 3-1 United, and I'll put my neck out and say Casemiro, Rashford, Ronaldo.
Oh, I mean, it'd be great for Casemiro to score. I love the celebration against
Garnacho
Chelsea.
to score if he comes on.
Garnacho, yeah, that'd be great. I mean, it's at Old Trafford. I'm pretty sure that would hit the roof. Even though we don't have a roof, but you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, guys, honestly, it was a great stream. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, do you just want to pin your Twitters or where we can find you on the other social medias?
Yeah, I'll go first since no one else is. I'm James. My Twitter is at James Dixon PT or James Dixon _PT, I think it is. My YouTube channel is Football and Fitness United. Logo.
I'll give you a
behind me. Subscribe. All fun.
I will
content,
subscribe.
Football content. It's all worthwhile. If you guys ever want to come on, shoot me a message. We do previews, match day content, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Awesome.
Kojo, same goes for you. Where can we find you?
Yep, my personal one, Kojo Free Midfield. My podcast is Free Midfield Podcast. That covers all football, so come check us out there as well. That's on Twitter. Our YouTube is the Match Report, but if you type in Free Midfield Podcast, you'll find us there too. So come on, like, subscribe, and we'll love to have you guys on sometime as well.
Oh, that way. Tone _1995. I basically just talk about Man United pretty much all the time. It's on my Twitter page, but yeah, give me a follow if you want to.
Mick, do you want to talk about yours?
Oh, yeah. I'm very humble, Mick Ruby.
And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching.
You can find me on my YouTube channel, MUFC Real Estate TV. It's been open for 12 weeks. I had Dan on once, and on Twitter, you can find me on Mick Ruby, or what do I call it? Ruby Red MUFC. That's pretty much. Guys, it's been a blast. I really enjoyed. I will definitely subscribe to one and each of you. Subscribe to my channel. Everyone.
We all do each other's favors on this channel, but yeah,
TGIF.
Yeah, thank you also for the amazing chat tonight. Obviously, getting interactive with us always. You help us out with the questions and the stages and stuff that we all go through. So yeah, up for United. I can't wait for this weekend's game, and yeah, we'll all see you in the next one. So take care, have a good night, and we'll see you all in the next one.
See you, Captain.
Peace.